Your Excellency, Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, represented by my big brother, the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Muhammadu Musa Bello, and our celebrant of today's program, Our Excellency, Dr. Folashade Yemieson, the Head of Civil Service of the Federation. Because of time, let me stand on the established protocols. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I first of all say congratulations to the entire workforce of both the civil service and the public service for the Civil Service Day celebration that is going on today. And it's a privilege for me as a person on the court to have been invited by Her Excellency, the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, to make this presentation on the performance management system, the impact on productivity. Your Excellency, thank you very much for this. I will quickly go through, because of the time, and we go through the presentation. Yeah, I think I have the outline on the screen with the introduction, from the introduction to purpose up to the last one, the conclusion. Well, let me continue because of time. The essence of government is to ensure peace, stability, security, and general well-being of the people. These responsibilities of government are generally carried out through the instrumentality of the civil service and the improvement of quality service to the people through the civil service and effective government policies for the general well-being of the citizens. This brief presentation will provide a requirement capable of guiding the civil service in the implementation of the performance management system in Nigeria, and also provide a framework of professionalizing the service as a guarantee for sustained excellence in service delivery. We also look at the issue of building the capacity of key players in the civil service to understand and champion the needed transformations that will drive productivity and improve value addition to the service, and build deep understanding on transforming and standardizing human resource management in the public service. Ladies and gentlemen, what is performance management system? It is the systematic approach to measure the performance of employees. It is a process through which organizations align their mission, goals, and objectives with available resources in terms of the manpower, materials, and systems, and set the priorities. We look quickly at the key elements of the PMS. We look at the issue of the planning and expectation, setting the goals, the monitoring, development and improvement, that is closing up the gaps, the periodic ratings, the feedback mechanism, and continual improvement. The organizational approach to performance management has to do with the issue of clear expectations and strategies. That is, the leadership has to be very clear on realistic and achievable goals as well as implementation strategies. On the mutual trust, the second part, the leadership must secure the buy-in of the line managers, as the line managers trust the leadership to provide the necessary support for achieving the set goals. And on the balanced view of the performance, the organizations must take a holistic view of performance, considering all the functional units in short term, while having the medium and long-term performance review. On the next slide, we quickly look at the performance evaluation on actual result versus expected goals. That means the organization start their performance conversations with a review of actual performance versus expectation. I will explain this in details later on. And again, we look at the approach, the coherent approach, which speaks about the regardless of organizational structure, the background of the situation, good performance, approach all steps of the performance and the management cycle in a coherent way. What are the structures of an effective performance management system design? The commitment is the key factor. And I must commend the celebrant, the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, for the drive in respect of this, getting the buy-in, the commitments in this, and the engagements and ownership throughout the process. In the 21st century, you cannot run away from PMS. the whole world is going global. You're using the technology without, in the 21st century, without effective technology, you cannot drive the system. And with this, I think the country, through the head of civil service of the Federation, the civil service is fully on course. The second one has to do with the training and effective communication by the leadership. Align the work processes with corporate plans, culture, and strategies, and align individual performance with corporate performance. That's on the alignment, and also use the performance outcomes to reinforce importance of core competencies. In respect of the integration, that's the use of integrated technology platforms. You are going on PMS, you must be ICT compliance. It's the quiet revolution that will turn the system into IT fully compliance. I remember when we were about to start this, the first thing we did was in 2007, I was then in the PRS department. We issued a circular giving the staff 6 months to be ICT compliance. Today, the exam, the PMS, the APA, everything is online. And also there must be transparency between performance and reward decisions and process interactions. On the continual improvement, we look at the issue of regular feedbacks to monitor success, adopt incremental change as against massive redesign, then the establish ownership for maintenance and program enhancement, and use performance outcome as driver to transform into high-performing organizations. Again, you must be looking at the issue of modular implementation of set goals. What are the system frameworks for the performance management system, the PMS? As a first step, the framework, including a set of key performance indicators, KPIs, which is defined in line with the organization's strategic directions. KPIs, the key performance indicators, are measuring indices, which is used to evaluate and cascade from the organization's strategy to individuals. That means from top to bottom, and also sometimes then you get a feedback mechanism in respect of this. You look at the issue of the output and the outcomes. Then we have the strategy elements. Is a top-bottom, bottom-top in terms of the vision. There must be a defined vision of the public service, the civil service. What is the direction this is going? And you must have the vision, the goals, the targets, and the initiatives. And this is what defines the framework of the performance management system. There must be a total buy-in of the performance management system by the entire workforce, because there must not be a gap. If there's a gap, then you cannot achieve what is set out to do. And on the other side of the slide are the frameworks, the definitions, the identification of specific data. And again, the next slide, we must look at cascading the goal setting and the measurement. You look at the organization strategy. Each organization must have its own strategy, the management, the department that is on the PMS. They design the department goals from the world. That means every year there must be a set goals. Every year there must be a set goals, and all the MDAs too must be key into the master goals of the civil service. Then it will now be cascaded and aligned by each department and core offices. And then the issue of capacity building is very, very critical in this, and you must for train the line officers to get the buy-in and get them trained as appropriate. And you cascade the KPIs into the indicators that is being used, and the departmental KPIs and the individual. And that is the issue of the goal setting. Then, because of time, we just run through, and we've had interface with the head of civil service team. And also I was privileged to make the presentation when there was a joint seminar and workshop by the head of civil service of the Federation and the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. So we started from there. And I will just share the Federal Road Safety Corps experience now, the journey, the model, and the benefits. First, the Federal Road Safety Corps is ISO 9001 2015 certified. And this, I'm happy in the address of the head of civil service that they are also working on ISO 9001 2015. Once this is done, we are now looking at the issue of quality management system. You take it from the PMS to the QMS. That means there must be monitoring indices and periodic review on this. The course started the PMS in 2010, and today is a success story. And 12 years, how was it done? First is the buy-in and adoption by the management in 2009, and the awareness and training. These are the processes it must follow. You cannot run it. We cannot just say you want to start PMS. You must get the buy-in to know, for the staff to know what is PMS. Then you must be IT literate. You must have the vision. You must have the focus. You must have the strategy. You must have the entailment, and must be backed by funding. Without funding, appropriate funding, you cannot achieve what is expected to be achieved in this. You must have the design and deployment of the appraiser tools, which each MDAs must be able to do. And also, it comes with the corporate strategic goals that every year the head of civil service office must have a focus, which must have been deliberated in the last quarter of the year before the following year. And this is the strategic goals that all the MDAs must key into and then bring out their own focus under the must cascade it. And that is how PMS is run. So it has to do with something of collective responsibility. Then you commence the evaluation and reward system. I'm happy. I think I'm the one. I thought the head of civil service is going to give me the key of that vehicle. I didn't know it's another person. And I hope the person that will collect it has a driver's license. If head of civil service allow me to first of all ask the person to show his driver's license and I verify. If not, I will collect the key and it will be in my custody. Then the automation of the appraiser system, everything must be online. And like I said, they sustain the PMS drive till date. The reward system is very critical in this. The reward system, and this is unprecedented. You're having the Civil Service Week, and at the lowest level, you've had the awards during the week, and this is culminating in this now. These are the things that drives the people, everybody, the servants, to know there is a reward system. The system must work in a rewarding way. That is the beauty of the PMS. When work is done properly, you get rewarded. When it's not done, you get a knock. And when you get a knock, then you can lose your job or you can be retired compulsorily for non-performance, because the measuring indices to increase the level of productivity. And the civil service is the engine room of the government. And the government, no matter when the political system brings down their programs, it is the civil service that will now format it into the implementation and get these things done. So with the PMS, these are the things that is brought in and as per the government policies and cascade for full implementation for the government of the day to achieve the programs that have been set on. And the core performance system, PMS, involves the process of measuring. You must measure the effectiveness and efficiency of an individual staff, which culminates into the corporate performance, because it's the collective. So if you want to measure the performance of the head of civil service now, it is the collective result and the average that determines our performance. And if our performance is below, that means that the system has not been driven well. Then the lead of the PMS will be held accountable. And this is tied to the day-to-day activities and targets of the individual staff with the corporate objectives of the corps. And the key thing is that at the end of each quarter, there must be an appraiser. There must be an appraiser to measure how far you have gone in the implementation of the set goals and objectives for the year, and which is cascaded on each quarter: first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. Then you now have the overall. And in the fourth quarter, the middle of third quarter again, you now have a review of the performance so far and what will be the corporate goal for the next year. And the basic levels that characterize the appraiser has to do with the corporate organizations, the department, core offices, and the commands. The individuals are the staff in respect of this. At the corporate level, ladies and gentlemen, and following the introduction of the PMS, like I said, the last quarter strategy sessions, we review the annual performance and proposes the corporate strategy goals for the coming year, and this is approved by the management and finally the commission. And once this is approved, if head of service approves this, the corporate strategy goals, then it's now communicated via circular to all the departments and core offices to commence work and set out their own KPIs, their own goals, and the targets in respect of this. And the quarterly performance review must take place every quarter to measure the performance as per the KPIs that have been set out to do. And the end of the year performance is used to review the overall performance. And for the core, we started the corporate strategy goals in 2011. These are just part of the slide. The goals must not be more than 5. You sit down and set the goals, and at least minimum of 3 and maximum of 5. And for example, the third column there, that is the one for 2022 goals. We are looking, the core is looking at to accomplish 15% reduction in road traffic crash fatality, enhance road safety partnership for innovation, intervention, and consolidate. These are the things that must be set out by the team, which once it's approved, then all the MDAs must then key in and have their own goal setting under what the major one that has been set by the head of civil service of the Federation. Slide 34 just shows the template for annual corporate goals. Like you have the goal 1, what are the activities, what are the key performance indicators, and what are the responsibility office and each ministries, departments, and agencies to handle this, and the level of accomplishment. This is just a dummy. At the end of the day, you have the performance overview. If the activities with the KPIs are fully done, some percentage, either high or fair or low. And the next slide too, it just shows the template that being used. It's not compulsory. This can be modified to suit the organization. For example, the core has been working on the fatality evaluation at a glance. Now the core has 1,432 formations throughout the country. We are in all the local governments, and we have expanded the driver's license centers, and we are now going digital. As from before the end of next month now, the driver's license is going digital, and that means it's part of the strategic goals set, and also now to make sure that all the commercial drivers are randomly tested on the issue of drugs, driving under the influence of drugs and alcohol. And again, the capacity building. There's a difference between driving school and driving proficiency center. Driving schools is where the learners, those who have not been trained how to drive, goes to, and that is where they are taught on the 26 modules on how to drive. And the driving proficiency centers is post-driver's license when you commit offenses or you want to do the annual review. That is where you are taken to. And the penalty point system in the Act is now being implemented. That means we are working towards having driving proficiency centers in all the 36 states. We have started this already, and before the end of within the next 2-3 years, we should have set up this in all the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. Like I said, at the department and offices level, that means at the MDA's level, you must have the corporate expectations that are cascaded from top management to the department works. That means from the head of service office, then the MDAs must take a cue to get this done, and is then cascaded. Then from each ministry, then it goes to each department. These are very simple things, but it takes commitment, skill, and focus to get these things done. And the country is on course with what the head of civil service is doing, and I think it behoves on the team, on the entire civil servants to give maximum support to this. Then the other slide just shows the assessment criteria when it comes to the assessment, because there's a reward system. We reward departments and offices in our own organization that's done well. Some of the marshals involved get immediate promotion, and some of them get recommendation to the board to be promoted. And all this on the task, alignment to service standards, and the teamwork, collaboration, capacity building, financial and resource management. This is just the template for the core, and the result sheet is on the next slide, which really explains all these things. Then the next slide on the personnel performance evaluation. This is individual appraisers, because at the beginning of every year, you must have a job binder. You must set out what you want to do every year, keying into the corporate strategy goals. And the head of the department must have been assessed first by the head of the ministry. Then that's the permanent secretary, who's the accounting officer. Then at the department levels, all staff must design their own job binders, key from the corporate goals, and it must be approved. That is the measuring. That is what we now set the KPIs on how this is done. Then there must be, before you do that, there must be pre-appraisal meetings, self-appraisal. You must assess yourself. Then the appraisal meeting goes on, and the review committee and the appeal process if it's not done properly. On the individual appraiser, that is the drawing of the job binders which I mentioned, and which is staff at the beginning of the year draw their job binders from the departmental initiatives. On pre-appraiser meetings, the staff periodically interface with their supervisors to evaluate their performance in line with the job binder. And on the self-appraiser, the staff at the end of the PMS, that is the performance management system cycle, assess themselves on the key deliverables and core competence outlined in the APA. The APA must now be online. There must not be any paperwork again once you fully keyed into PMS. So that means you must have your application that all staff will go online and do their assessment online and will be reviewed. But you cannot score yourself 5/5 as per each. There's no way you can score yourself 100%. Then the reviewing officer will drop it and get the correct thing done. Let me fully explain the personnel annual job binder under the PMS. When staff draw their job binder from the departmental initiatives, targets related to individual works deliverables are set for each staff, which is captured in their individual job binders with clear-cut key performance indicators, which should be SMART compliance. What is SMART? SMART is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound method. And with this, you go to the next slide on the individual appraisers. And that the job binder, like I said, there must be a review meeting. It's done after the coaching sessions for you to know, to key into the year's corporate strategic goals, and that must be between the subordinate and the key supervisor so as to understand the expectation and means of delivery. And the pre-appraisal meetings between the supervisors and subordinates holds every quarter to enable feedback direction. And this is where those who are not doing their work are fished out, and they can be punished for this. And those who are doing well can also get commendation. The next slide just shows a sample of the job binder. And on the individual appraisers, the staff must interface periodically with their supervisors to evaluate their performance. This is an essence to make sure that everybody is keeping check. So that you measure your performance and your deliverable every quarter. If you are not doing well, you get a formal letter. And if you are doing well, that will debar you from being promoted. And if you are doing well, you get the commendation that will make you to be moved to the next level. The next slide is on the individual appraisers. That's, like I said, the appraiser meetings, the appraiser review committee, and the appeal process. And this is at the independence assessment. If you go online, you will see our upper portal. Then these are just the samples. If you go, you will see it on slides 53, 54, 55. On the slide 56, the benefits of the PMS. The internal, as per the internal, the annual corporate strategy goal setting being adopted to guide the core workforce towards the achievement of annual organizational goals, and the staff domesticate their departmental targets into their individual key deliverables. And the staff now realize that they need to be creative, committed to their work, and discover their innate ability for optimum performance. One issue which is not stated there has to do with perception management. Perception management, you have the external perception management and the internal perception management. This has to do with the internal perception management. The external performance, if you key in properly to the PMS, that means the external perception management of the civil service must have a better outlook. That means you must get the desired result. That means the public response to the civil service will be that of positive mode. That means when you put in the relevant measuring indices, you will get the desired result, and the feedback mechanism will give you a positive outlook. So we must be conscious of the perspective management, the internal and the external. How does the public see the civil service? With all these innovations of Her Excellency, the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, that means within the next 2-3 years, we should see a different civil service in the country. And that means, and they are working also with the states. The states should key into this after the approval by the National Council on Establishment, I'm aware the state government has adopted this, and I think they are also working in respect of this. For the internal, the gap analysis we show during the quarterly review so that you can brief this, and the grievances and conflicts among members of the corps. And it's increasingly possible to identify the performance, you know them, and the underperformance for reward and sanction. The level of the individual productivity of the corps has been impressive because this is the 4th certification we have on ISO certification now, ISO 9001:2015. And now with the PMS, you'll be able to identify the needs assessment and put the right people in the right places, because when you assess quarterly, you know where you can really deploy it. And with the pool service being operated in the civil service, PMS will also assist in placing the civil servants in the right ministries and the departments. I'm going to the 3rd phase now, the 3rd part, the implementation of PMS in the civil service, my own perspective, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me appreciate the Federal Executive Council for approving the PMS policy, which was developed by the Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation. And let me also commend the celebrants, the Head of Civil Service of Federation, for deploying the PMS guideline appraisal tools in MDAs, and for the numerous consultations with the FRSC in all the stages of the PMS implementation, and continuous training and engagement of the focal persons, the HRs, because the HRs are the focal persons in the MDAs. For seamless implementation of PMS in the civil service, the following actions are recommended. 1, to secure the buy-in of the top management of the MDAs. The PAMSECs are the accounting officers, so they must first key into this. If the PAMSECs don't understand the PMS, the QMS, you cannot make progress. So they must key into this and conduct intensive sensitization of staff and training of focal persons, like I've just mentioned, and establish structures in the various MDAs to midwife the implementation of the PMS. Design and deploy the appraiser tools. Design and deploy automated appraiser system. It's not manual, it's online. That means everybody, the entire workforce must be IT literate. That is the 21st century demands that you must be IT compliant. If you can use your smartphones to type, to do everything, then that means you should be able to upgrade your level and be fully compliant and be able to use all the applications. This is one key one that requires funding to provide ICT infrastructure to support the automation and train the key personnel on the automation and deployment of the automated system. Conduct periodic monitoring and evaluation of the PMS implementation in MDAs by the anchor person, the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, and sustain the PMS drive through adequate funding. Ladies and gentlemen, the impact on productivity in civil service. The civil service in Nigeria is a vital machinery of government in the delivery of its mandate to the citizens. The public perception of the civil service as it relates to service delivery has always pointed to the need for improvements, which I've earlier mentioned on the external perception and the internal perception, which requires a paradigm shift approach to existing practices, such as deployment of smart solutions. One of such solutions is performance management system, which seeks to ensure that individual performance aligns with the overall strategy of an organization, thereby enhancing organizational productivity. When fully deployed, impacts in the following ways will be observed: reduces redundancy in the workplace and ensure proper placement as per the needs assessment and the skills of each civil servant, enhances effective manpower deployment, ensures clear delineation of job functions, motivate workforce through the reward system, helps in identification of training needs and development, and improve the working relationship between the employer and employees. Encourages recognition and reward system, addresses corruption and corrupt tendencies in the workplace, promotes e-governance across the MDAs, and enhance ease of doing business between the MDAs and the public. That is the Presidential Order 001 and closes or narrows the digital gap in the workforce, because when you are IT compliant, then it enhances the efficiency and it makes the system to really run well. Whether you are in the office or not, the work has to be done. And during the peak of COVID-19, most of the meetings were virtual. That is one good thing COVID-19 brought about. So most of the meetings now are done virtually, which has brought down the cost of our running organizations. And this also improves the organizational outlook within and outside the country, fast-tracks the execution of government processes for enhanced economy. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, there is no saying that the FRS experience has been quite good. The core achievement over a 12-year period is an eye-opener to forward-looking organizations to emulate. The core was braved in daring to take the risk and adopt PMS in its system 12 years ago. In spite of the prevailing skepticism at the time and today, our story is one of the nothing ever comes real till it is experienced. Our experience is real, is rich, is fulfilling, and like the trailblazers, we played until we got it right. The initiative of the head of civil service of the Federation and subsequent approval by FEC on PMS is highly commendable. The PMS is the right step in the right direction towards enhancing productivity if the processes are followed by having a pilot scheme in selected MVAs and designing a 3-year roadmap to cover other NDAs and interface with the states' governments. Effective implementation will, however, require a robust budgetary provision, enhanced capacity building of DEX officers in all the MDAs, intensive enlightenment and awareness campaign for the buy-in and ownership. The core will avail its platforms and support at every stage to drive the implementation. There is no gainsaying that the civil service is the driver for the implementation of all government policies. Hence, the need to accord it the respect and attention it deserves by the government. The implementation of the performance management system will further enhance the status of the civil service to further deliver the quality service. Happy celebration. Thank you very much.
Thank you.